Well, good morning. Welcome to Daily Videos with me, Pastor Michelle. Today is Wednesday, and I hope everyone is having a good midweek, having a good week so far, as best as we can. So let's start out with some prayer, shall we? And so the prayer today is a blessing for bats. That's a weird blessing, but we'll see what it says. Only scientists could love rodents with pterodactyl wings and fangs that cling to creepy places. Docs who poke and prod, swab and smear, tickle and tag, when all bats want is to flap about under the stars, feast on mosquitoes, make babies, hang with their friends, echolocating, winging it, and loving it. Blessed are you, Chiroptera, be as batty as our Creator made you to be. The truth is, we envy you, not just the flying, but your resilience to pathogens, including the pathogen of humanity. So, there you have it. Sorry, looking around for something. The blessing of the bats. Yeah, they are God's creatures, right? Just like rats are God's creatures. And as I'm finishing up a pet sitting gig, with rats. So, as I did a pet sitting gig with rats, I'm not there anymore, but, well, I'm making this video ahead of time, so technically I'm still there, but, anyway, yeah, there's certain creatures though, just so if you want to know more about me, here's Michelle's thoughts of the day, which are random sometimes. So, my thought of the day today is that there are certain animals that I think are meant to be loved from afar, at least in my opinion. For example, I'm not a big fan of turtles. I think they're suspicious. I don't know what they're doing under that shell. I don't know why. I don't know. It's not logical. And also deer. I mean, they're pretty to look at from a distance, but my gosh. If one ever came out in front of me while I'm driving, I would lose it. And then I don't like rats. There's a lot of animals I don't like, to be honest. I pet sat once for a big pig, not like a pig you hold, like a big old pig. And since then, I'm not really a big fan of pigs as pets. I love bacon. I know that's not politically correct for the pigs, sorry. But I do love bacon and I love a good piece of ham. So I do love pigs in that way, which is not the right way. But those are just my thoughts today. I think all of us, if we're honest with one another, we all have fears. And sometimes those fears aren't always logical. And for me, a lot of my fears aren't logical. And the deer fear, the turtle fear, that doesn't completely make sense, but I am afraid of those. But I say all that, my thoughts don't always really make that much sense, but I say all that just to say that it's okay to have fears. Don't feel like you're going to be judged because you have fears, because I think it's human nature to be afraid, and sometimes fears can be a good thing. So whatever you're afraid of, own it. Don't be ashamed of it. So anyway, those are Michelle's thoughts of the day. Let's pray, shall we? Let's bless those thoughts. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debtors. Forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. And bless my thoughts. All right. Anyway, that's a new portion I want to add to these videos, is my thoughts of the day. Anyway, let's finish up this chapter of Hunger Games, though, because I'm eager to hear what happens with Katniss and Peeta. A mockingjay gives a long, low whistle, and tears of relief fill my eyes as the hovercraft appears and takes Cato's body away. Now they will take us. Now we can go home. But again, there's no response. What are they waiting for, says Peeta weakly. Between the loss of the tourniquet and the effort it took to get to the lake, his wound has opened up again. I don't know, I say. Whatever the holdup is, I can't watch him lose any more blood. I get up to find a stick, but almost immediately come across the arrow that bounced off Cato's body armor. It will do as well as the other arrow. As I stoop to pick it up, Claudius Templesmith's voice booms into the arena. Greetings to the final contestants of the 74th Hunger Games. The earlier revision has been revoked. Closer examination of the rulebook has disclosed that only one winner may be allowed. Good luck, and may the odds be ever in your favor. There's a small burst of static, and then nothing more. I stare at PETA in disbelief as the truth sinks in. They never intended to let us both live. This has all been devised by the game makers to guarantee the most dramatic showdown in history, and like a fool, I bought into it. If you think about it, it's not that surprising, he says softly. I watch as he painfully makes it to his feet. Then he's moving toward me as if in slow motion. His hand is pulling the knife from his belt. Before I'm even aware of my actions, my bow is loaded with the arrow pointed straight at his heart. PETA raises his eyebrows, and I see the knife has already left his hand on his way to the lake where it splashes in the water. I drop my weapons and take a step back, my face burning in what can only be shame. No, do it. PETA limps toward me and thrusts the weapons back in my hands. I can't. I won't. Do it before they send those mutts back or something. I don't want to die like Cato. Then you shoot me, I say furiously, shoving the weapons back at him. You shoot me and go home and live with it. And as I say it, I know death right here, right now, would be the easier of the two. You know I can't, PETA says, discarding the weapons. Fine, I'll go first anyway. He leans down and rips the bandage off his leg, eliminating the final barrier between his blood and the earth. No, you can't kill yourself, I say. I'm on my knees, desperately plastering the bandage back onto his wound. Katniss is what I want. You're not leaving me here alone, because if he dies, I'll never go home. Not really. I'll spend the rest of my life in this arena trying to think my way out. Listen, he says, pulling me to my feet. We both know they have to have a victor. It can only be one of us. Please, take it from me. And he goes on about how he loves me, what life would be without me. But I've stopped listening because his previous words are trapped in my head, thrashing desperately around. We both know they have to have a victor. Yes, they have to have a victor. Without a victor, the whole thing would blow up in the game makers' faces. They'd have failed the Capitol, might possibly even be executed slowly and painfully while the cameras broadcast it to every screen in the country. If PETA and I were both to die, though, or they thought we were. My fingers fumble with the pouch on my belt, freeing it. PETA sees it and his hands clamps on my wrist. No, I won't let you. Trust me, I whisper. He holds my gaze for a long moment, then lets me go. I loosen the top of the pouch and pour a few spoonfuls of berries into his palm. Then I fill my own on the count of 3. PETA leans down and kisses me once, very gently. The count of 3. We stand, our backs pressed together, our empty hands locked tight. Hold them out. I want everyone to see. I spread out my fingers, and the dark berries glisten in the sun. I give PETA's hand one last squeeze as a signal, as a goodbye, and we begin counting. 1, maybe I'm wrong. 2, maybe they don't care if we die. 3, it's too late to change my mind. I lift my hand to my mouth, taking one last look at the world. The berries have just passed my lips when the trumpets begin to blare. The frantic voice of Claudius Templesmith shouts above them. Stop, stop, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to present the victors of the 74th Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen and PETA Mellark. I give you the tributes of District 12. I remember that scene when I saw the movie. That's a good scene. When you think they're going to go off in the sunset, kind of like Romeo and Juliet, and kill each other. Yeah, that's a good, I like that scene. So anyway, let's get back to a little bit of John Pavlovitz, shall we? So today, it is Pick a Hill Worth Dying on, America. So if your eyes are clear and open right now, you see it. This is a pivot point for us, America. It is a place where we collectively turn back toward our best selves or slide into the abyss of the very worst of us. We are in real time crafting our shared legacy, and the world is watching to see who we will be. Our children are watching too. These are historic days, and they will be recorded. They will tell the story of this country as either the time good people crossed lines of political party, faith, tradition, and racial divide, and course corrected us out of abject disaster, or the days we all stopped giving a damn and fully consented to the darkness for good. These will be marked as the moments we succumbed to 1,000 small assaults on decency, or when we decided to stop the bleeding altogether. There is no question anymore for those not deluded by supremacy or religion or self-preservation. This thing currently steering us is an abomination. It is an abandonment of empathy, a rejection of personal liberty, human rights violations, a squandering of radiant lives. There's nothing redemptive or life-giving in it. The only question remaining is if you're okay with it, and you get to answer for yourself by your movement or your inaction. In these very seconds, you and I get to decide whether our children and grandchildren will inherit something beautiful or something grotesque. It's really that simple, that elemental, that close. This is not about waiting for God or a political party or a social media celebrity to do something, or for some faceless people you imagine will rescue you. No, friend, there's no superhero flying in to save the day. You need to save it. And the way you will save it is by finding whatever it is that pulls you out of the paralyzing funk of grief and sadness and disbelief you've been in, and into the jagged trenches of passionate resistance. You save it by deciding what matters most in this life, and whether it matters enough to do more than you're doing to defend and protect it right now. In the presence of such great hatred, you're either an activist or an accomplice, the vocal opposition or a willing partner. You and I need to pick a hill worth dying on right now, and we need to ascend it without delay. We need to speak and write and work and protest and vote and do all the things we've been waiting for someone else to do. This movement may cause friction in our families. It may bring turbulence to our marriages. It may yield collateral damage to our careers. It may cost us financially and personally. It may alienate us from our neighbors. It may push us from our churches. It may be inconvenient and uncomfortable and painful, but that is the price of liberty, and you and I need to pay it because other people paid it before us. No excuses will be good enough to the generations that follow us about why we did nothing, so we need to stop trying to find them. I don't know what matters enough to move you from complacency or indecision or selfishness or apathy. The atrocities dealt to so many humans, the perversions of Christianity, the pillaging of the environment, the violations of our Constitution, the cries of migrant children, the hijacking of the Supreme Court, the dismantling of healthcare, the long-ignored school shootings, the harassment of LGBTQ teens, the assaults on women's autonomy over their bodies, the malice of our public servants, the twisting of truth, the marching of Nazis in our streets, the dumbing down of our discourse. Is it love or equality or compassion or diversity or humanity? I don't know what is worth you doing something right now, but you do. So instead of lamenting how horrible it all is, accept the invitation to make it less horrible. Instead of looking to the sky and wondering why no one is doing anything, you do something. Step out of the cloistered place of your private despair and into a jacked up world that you can alter by showing up. Use your gifts and your influence and your breath and your hands and fix something that is badly broken before it breaks beyond repair. This is not some fictional zombie apocalypse series you can binge watch, turn off and walk away from into the radiant light of the day. This is flesh and blood, men and women living among you with dangerous agendas they will not abandon unless opposed. I'm not trying to scare you. What is happening right now in this nation should scare you enough. I'm trying to wake you up and ask you to see if your heart is still beating, if you can say yes and do something worthy of that gift. Whatever hill is worth dying on for you in this life, take it now. Affirm life, speak truth, defend the vulnerable, call out injustices, and gladly brave the criticisms and the wounds you will sustain in doing it, knowing that they are a small price to pay for the nation that could be if you speak, or the nation that will be if you do not. Chances are you won't actually be called to die for these causes and these people, but when you do leave this planet, you will have lived for them. That in itself will be a beautiful legacy. If you aren't finding your voice right now, don't bother worrying about it later. You won't have one much longer. So ascend the hill. So our next portion, tomorrow, we're going to start a new part of this book, and it's actually the last part, and it's stuff that needs to be said about life, death, grief, and depression. So I'm looking forward to diving into those, and yeah. So anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and take care. God bless you.